Like always, today's episode is brought to you by our amazing sponsors: gluten-free diet water, premium junk clothing, Williamson Wines, Good Dudes Coffee, and K7 Ammo. Gluten-free diet water. Stay hydrated with a refreshing twist. Perfect for those health-conscious listeners. Premium junk clothing. For those who love to express their unique style with high-quality fashion pieces. Visit premiumjunkclothing.com and use code EverydayGSD15 at checkout. Williamson Wine, natural artisan wine from Napa and Sonoma. Good Dudes Coffee, veteran owned by former Navy SEAL Josh Bridges. Every cup is brewed with passion and dedication to quality. Visit their website at gooddudescoffee.com and use discount code EverydayGSD10 for an exclusive offer. And last but not least, K7 Ammo, veteran owned by former Green Beret Carl Sexton. K7 Ammo is high-quality ammunition to meet all your shooting needs. Visit k7ammo.com and use discount code GSD10 at checkout. And also, don't forget to visit the Everyday GSD store at darinbibeau.com for all your official Everyday GSD merchandise. And now, let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the Everyday GSD podcast. Today's special guest out here at sea on the Special Forces cruise in the middle of the ocean. We are underway right now. We've got Pat Flatly. I always got to double check, make sure I got your name right. Hails from Colorado. You were in the Army Green Berets. That's why you're here, because it's a Green Beret cruise. So I think this is the safest ship right now that's actually in the fucking Caribbean or anywhere in the world. I might be biased on that. 21 years, you retired as an E8. You went in 1986. I have a whole bio on you, but if I went through everything, then what will we talk about, right? So I'm just going to touch on a couple things right now. Like I said earlier, thank you for being on the show. You're a civilian. You do 10th Special Forces.
Right? Armaments.
Armaments, yeah, right now.
I work on the weapons.
Right, and one of your passions is Vets Exploring Treatment Solutions, yes, which we're going to dive into, because that's actually a pretty good conversation and a topic that is kind of taboo in some areas, but then in other areas it's like highly recommended and people need to have the knowledge and understand what the fuck they're doing, right?
Sure.
Okay, let me see what else I have on you. You know what? Multiple deployments. I've got you as a contractor and as a Green Beret. You've done 5 combat tours. Plus or minus. Maybe we can't talk about some. Maybe we can talk about some. And we also have Sammy Sachs out here. And Tony Musa. Did I say that right? So if you guys hear anything from the Peanut Gallery, that's the Peanut Gallery. And you have actually worked with both of these individuals.
Yes, and Joe Back is with us in spirit.
Okay. There we go. Okay. And again, first of all, it's an honor to have you on the show. We've been hanging out for the last couple of days. Our first night at sea, we shared dinner tonight together, and we got to share a couple stories. And it's interesting when you're out here, and we both did different jobs in the military, but it's funny how certain jobs paths cross, or individuals that it's a small world, right? But I want to start with you. You were like a little 18-year-old troublemaker, or you watched Rambo. What made you decide in 1986 to go in the Army? You were out fucking around, drinking and driving, or you were like, it's my dream. I want to have the knife in my mouth, and I'm going to go save lives and kill bad people.
I was a criminal.
Yeah, I was a criminal.
I never.
And I leaded you into that question.
I was a criminal. I was in a bad shape. I was doing bad things, and thank God the vice principal of my high school kind of took me under his arm.
Was he prior service?
Yeah.
Okay, so he saw something in you and said, you know what, this he needs to be straightened out.
Yep. And he was one of the first persons I listened to. He just passed away at 94.
No shit, 94.
94.
Let's take a moment for that.
Awesome dude. I mean, saved a lot of guys. Just save kids and put them in the military.
And this is where were you living at this point?
South Chicago.
South Chicago. Okay.
And he just recognized it with, you're not a bad kid. You're just, most of it was fighting.
Yeah.
And, just during busing, there was a lot of issues in the neighborhood. There was riots in front of my house, and he just gave me a chance.
And how old were you about this time?
I was 16.
16.
Yeah, but he stayed with me. Just kind of, we were friends. And finally, I went out and I was working, and I was a printer. And I told him I wanted to join the military. So he went to the 8th District Police Station in South Chicago and pulled my records. He just talked to him. Said, look, this kid's, all of it's fighting.
Yeah.
And we let him go in the Army. And they let me go in the
we
Army.
need fighters in the
Yeah,
Army.
he came with it was a folder then. There was no computers. We ripped it up and drank a beer, and I joined the Army.
Yeah.
So, I went to the 82nd Airborne.
So when you joined the Army, I just want to back it up for the audience. So you went and talked to the recruiter, and were you just going into the Army, or were you like, I want to be infantry, this is what I want to do, this is what this guy, this mentor, he wants, he's explaining to me. Did you even understand about Special Forces, Green Beret? None of that.
No, I just saw
I didn't
Rambo.
think so.
I got my ass kicked by cops a few times. I was like, that guy's cool.
Yeah.
I was completely off track. I had no clue what I was thinking about. And, to give you an idea, when I went in to take the ASFAB, I didn't know I was taking the ASFAB that day, right?
Right.
And I used to do this thing where I would smoke a joint all the way to school, and then I would take a giant hit before I walked into my high school, and I would pitch it into the front bushes. I would walk in, and I'd blow it into the office and walk down the hallway. and I did it that day. And
Sammy's over there laughing at you.
and there was
Sammy, you might hear some shit you didn't know about him.
No, because I was back there in
Oh, right.
So right when I did it, I looked up, and the vice principal and the recruiter were standing there, and they were like, "You need to take your ASFAB," and I'm like, all right.
And for those people who don't know, the ASVAB is your aptitude test that goes in the military for all branches of service. There's a certain number that you have to get to qualify for whatever jobs you're going to do or to go into the military, just to clarify.
Yep.
Because there are listeners that don't know our acronyms.
Yeah, and for a goon, but I had a Catholic school education before that.
Yeah, me too.
And then, so I scored second highest in my school, and the recruiters were like, holy shit, so they were working on me, but I was still goofing off. And then when I went in the recruiters, they're like, you can do anything you want in the military. I was like, airborne infantry, I just idiot. So it's just, I was like, I have no interest in anything else. I just want to go be a Green Beret.
Right.
And I did 4 years in the 82nd. I didn't, it was great in some ways, but terrible in others. But I wanted to get out. I had no idea I had the brains to go to college. But after I straightened out in the military, that first 4 years, I got the beat down in the 82nd.
Right.
And I was like, man, I can go to college.
Yeah.
And they're going to pay for it. And
Yeah.
I'm going to go play football or something. And so I got out, and my parents asked me to
So you did 4 years, got out because they're paying for the college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to go to school. I wanted to do other things. I just didn't know, I wanted to knock out college, and I'd probably go back in the military or do something else. But
were you thinking that when you decided that you were going to go to college? Were you thinking, am I going to go to college and go back in? Or were you thinking, right now I want to go to college?
I just wanted to go to college.
Yeah.
I just didn't, and I got to go visit friends at college. I was like, wow, this isn't like I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, like, wait a minute. These guys, all they're doing is partying and doing other things, Mom.
This is way more fun than the infantry, And at that time, I used to hitchhike across the country. I didn't even care, and I would sleep in a cornfield. I didn't care.
Like Rambo.
Yeah, just go lay down. This is my pillow.
Yeah.
And it used to freak people out. I didn't care. I'd just go. And but when I went to school, I was having it was okay. It was going good, but I got recalled for the Gulf War.
Right.
And boy, that was like my little college dream just went to shit.
Right.
And when I went to the recruiters, they were like, you can get pulled, or there's this 18 X-ray program. You can go straight to Special Forces. And I was like, that's kind of what I wanted to do.
Right.
And off I went, and they screwed me again. They took my rank, took everything, and I had to go through the Q courses in E4.
Right.
And
because when you got out, you were E5?
yeah.
Okay.
They promised me.
But you retired as an E8.
Yeah.
So you made your time back up.
Yeah. I made
I'd say
seven.
that,
I was a little slow in the 5 and 6 years because
Yeah.
of me. And then I made 7 and 8 in the secondary.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
But 5 and 6 is some of the best times.
Oh, it was the best. It was
Yeah.
great. But no, 88, I think being a team sergeant was the best.
Yeah.
I just never thought I'd be there. And
Right.
man, and I was kicking ass. So
Yeah.
it was, I made 8 right for the war, and I did good.
So you leave, go to college. You leave college, go back in, and now you're going to you're accepted into the Special Forces program. So you go through the Q course, And what year about is this?
91.
91. So then the Gulf War hits.
Yep.
And then you deploy with the Green Berets at that point?
No, the war ended, and then Provide Comfort kicked in. Then this was when
Provide Comfort.
Saddam started slaughtering the Kurds. And,
Right.
And he went to a place called Halabja, and his brother-in-law, I think. Yeah, his brother-in-law. Chemical Ali was what they called the guy.
Chemical Ali.
He
Yeah.
he dusted Halabja with chemicals, and there was babies lying in the street gassed. And
Right.
the world said, what the hell? And we deployed into northern Iraq. I didn't yet, and the guys went and fed these Kurds that ran away, and they were hiding up in the mountains. And I remember the Discovery Channel had a World of Valor series, and a guy said, we got 30, 40,000 people on the side of a mountain. What do you feed them for dinner? And so that's a pure, awesome Green Beret mission, man. We went and stopped that shit. We didn't let them kill anymore.
And here's a question, and maybe,
Your brother, love it.
nice, I like that. This is a question, and you might not know the answer, but if you can think back when you went over there and you were doing that operation or that mission, did the public know what was going on? Because the media is so fucked up right now, right? We're gonna talk about that later, I'm sure, because we had talked about it earlier. But and I just want the audience to understand these missions and operations you're doing. The public had no fucking idea.
No idea.
Like you said, your wife didn't know.
No, and this is Green Beret shit, man. You go in there and you feed people and you save their lives, and nobody knew. And it was looked down upon. Yeah, we didn't, we weren't jumping in and we weren't just smoking bad guys. We were jumping in and, we were driving in and protecting these people and getting them fed.
Right.
And so.
And you look back at that as that's a reward. It's a successful, rewarding operation for the Green Beret community.
I was on the CSAR.
The CSAR?
CSAR is Combat Search and Rescue.
Yeah.
And what they did was they blocked off a line in Iraq, and they said, if you cross this parallel, we're going to shoot you down. So if you bring it in your
So who's shooting down the Iraqis?
Yeah, the U.S. Air Force is going to shoot down anybody that comes into that spot and tries to hurt the Kurds.
Okay.
So I showed you a picture last night of some refugees.
Yeah, you showed me a couple pictures last night. That maybe if you're cool with it, when we're done recording, if you want, we can put some of these pictures up, but they might not be good for the public eye to see. But I saw them, and holy fuck.
Yeah. So in April of 1994, that was my first trip down, and we went down, and
that's when I went in 94, March. Yeah.
Cherry.
Yeah.
You got to get one in. I won't do any more.
You can. It's all right. I'm on a boat with 2,000 of you fuckers. You don't think I fucking heard it? And by the way, I'm a better swimmer than all of you. How about that?
Whoa, Turbo. Come back,
Give it up right here.
So,
no, real quick though. Last night, this girl was dancing, and she goes, I feel so safe with all these Green Berets. I know no one's going to attack the boat, and there's a couple of you guys that can swim on here, so I feel really safe in case the boat sinks. I'm like, if this boat sinks, we're all fucked. What the fuck are you talking about?
Hey,
go with the swimmer. Let's get to the lifeboats, people. That's the first thing we need to do.
And that's why you slept alone last night. You just said, "Stick with me, baby. I'll float you home."
Yeah, my wife would kill me if I did that. But anyway.
Oops.
Yeah.
Sorry. He was good, Mom. He was good.
Yeah.
And I was there. Walked him home.
Yeah, and by the way, my stateroom is E4. Are they fucking with me? Literally E4. Might as well be E1. I digress.
So, we were in Turkey, and we'd sleep on the airfield, and on an active airfield, and the birds would load up and go down, and they're protecting the Kurds. But we had two Green Berets down in Zaku, Iraq, which is up in the north, and we had a home set up, basically a compound set up, and they'd hired on some Kurds to protect everybody. The leader of them was named Fadl, and it was cool. You would go down and train them. So Saddam said he'd give 10 grand to anybody that killed an American, and they were like, well, everybody's under a threat then, so they flew all of us down, and we flew down to Zako, and it was.
And this is any American. This isn't necessarily killing a Green Beret or killing if you kill an American, we're going to pay you $10,000.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
I just
so-
wanted to clarify that.
And it happened while we were down there. We were down there, and there was I think I can't remember what country she was from, but she was a very pro-Kurd reporter. And someone walked up and shot her in the face 3 times with an AK. And the Kurds were furious about it. And it was one of those big, like a parade coming down the street with banners and everything. They brought us the body, and we flew it out. So it got serious then.
Yeah.
Real serious. So
Real serious, real quick.
real quick. And we're out there on patrol. It was every dream I ever had. I was a Green Beret carrying a sniper rifle and, floating around the country.
Yeah.
Loved it. It was protecting the guys,
Yeah.
And we'd go on the choppers. It was called Eagle Flight. Awesome Black Hawk pilots. They were the best I've ever flown with.
Were they 160th?
No.
No.
They were regular Army, man. We used to fly on the deck. It was absolutely amazing. Those guys could put a helicopter in any spot. And in northern Iraq looks like Colorado, the foothills, just rolling hills and mountains. And it was awesome. You're flying 10 feet off the ground, whatever, 140 miles an hour or whatever. Yeah. And it was, talk about adrenaline rush,
Yeah.
And one of the first.
And you're about how old at this time? I mean, approximately 25?
Yeah.
26?
I was in my 20s.
Yeah,
and,
mid-20s.
Yeah. So I remember like one of the first nights I was on the roof with a sniper rifle, and a bunch of fire came up, and a bunch of tracers were flying, and this dude pops out in an alley and starts shooting towards me about 10 feet above my head. And I'm like, good night. And I lined him up, and I was about to smoke him, and this dude tackled me, one of my Kurds, and said, no. Happy fire. And I was like, what is happy fire? Wedding.
Oh.
And I almost smoked this dude at a wedding.
No shit.
Yeah.
On his wedding day. No.
Well, no, it's one
No,
of his,
I know.
probably
Yeah.
uncle.
Yeah.
Just whacking away with an AK 10 feet above my head, and I got a M24. I was like, good night.
Yeah.
And then you're like, wow, this is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
So the 2 guys down there in Zaco were Ricky Robinson and Paul Barkley, and we were all tight. Ricky was the medic.
And during this whole episode, if later you think about it and you don't want to mention any names specifically, we'll get them out.
No,
just so you know.
They're gone.
Okay.
So it's
Yeah.
I want to get their names out there.
No, I just wanted to make sure we talked about that earlier. I just want to make sure you're good with that.
No, it's totally good. Our clinic is named after Ricky, and our barracks are named after Paul.
Nice.
So on that last night, we're on the rooftop, and the Kurds dressed Paul Barkley up as a Kurd, and they were doing the man dance. It's where they put their arms around each other's hips, and they just dance back and forth. And it was one hell of a time. We were laughing our balls off, just laughing at him. It was hysterical. And Paul was a funny guy, man, real quiet, but really funny. And, man, it was awesome. And then he came over, and we were talking, and he said, we were talking about, this is the last thing I remember him saying to me. It was, he said, I was patrol today. I said, it was kind of nuts, man. Every time we stopped, all these kids came piling on us, And I was like, man, some of these kids are so beautiful. And he said, they're all beautiful. They're kids, asshole.
Yeah.
And it hit me hard because, this guy, he just married a girl. She had 2 kids. He went out.
That's fucking deep.
He was 24 years old. He goes and buys a minivan with the fucking paneling on the fucking side and of St. Bernard. He's like, I'm going to raise these kids great. It's like, he was a fucking beautiful guy,
Yeah.
And I didn't have kids yet, so I didn't understand it all.
Right.
But when he said that, I was like, he's right. All kids are beautiful. That's what we're doing. We're protecting kids. We're going to smoke these assholes. So I went downstairs, and I met another guy, and I won't say his name. And we talked for about an hour, and so I just met him, and then he went away. He was getting ready for the patrol the next day. I'll see you on the patrol the next day. And I went downstairs. I got real sick, and I was throwing up everywhere. Iraq, the 2-step, where you're gonna get 2 steps before you shit.
Yeah.
I got it. I was throwing up everywhere, and Ricky Robinson, another medic, came in and took care of me all night. And Ricky put in IVs, and he was taking care of me. He stayed up all night with me, and I started to feel better. He pushed it through, whatever he did.
Yeah.
And in the morning, he was walking out, and I said, hey, thanks, Ricky. should stay up all night. He went, I'm your medic, bro. And laughed and walked off. And I was like, I love that guy, man, you know? And we went down to the choppers. Me and another guy were at sniper rifles. Sue. I'm going to mention him, Sue. He's a very angry man. And screw you, Sue. So we were getting ready to wear the sniper protection on the birds, and they said, you're off, you're bumped. And we were like, what the hell? And there's all these extra people there. And it was incoming chain of command, outgoing chain of command. We're going to go for a right seat, left seat ride. And we were waiting for the birds. You know, they bumped 5 more guys. So
Right.
7 of us got our lives saved by this because they flew off, and about an hour later, my sniper partner Sue came over and was like, birds are down.
Yeah.
And, you know, it got real serious.
Yeah.
And
Serious again, real fucking quick.
big time. And he, you know, one of those moments in your life where he said, Pat, if you're going to do this job for any amount of time in your life, you're gonna have to go pick up your friends.
Yeah.
And he'd done it before on a friendly fire incident, and what had happened was 2 F-15s, 2 scumbags in F-15s, shot down those birds. And there was supposed to be no aircraft in that area, and they didn't look.
What did you call that when I was making some notes earlier? That was, did you call that, was that the shoot down?
Yeah, the Eagle Flight shoot down.
Yeah, Eagle Flight shoot down, yeah.
So they came in and they shot him down, and this pilot actually, there was no threat. Like if the Russians had the best bird out, it might have the air-to-air capability, but no way Saddam had those at that time.
Right.
They could have gone around. They could have taken another look. They could have taken a second, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And they shot, and this dude said, put a fork in them, they're done. So we got the word, and man, once we got bumped off, I was pretty bummed out, and they said, hey, you're going to go teach Kurds today. So I was off teaching them shooting. Back in heaven, man. Little 18 Bravo.
Yeah.
This is what we do. We teach people shooting.
Right.
And a guy came over, and he was, great guy. And he was like, Pat, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you right now. And I was like, dude, I'm teaching. And he was like, get the fuck over here right now. And I was like, this is serious. I went over there, and he's like, get your CSAR gear. We're going to have to get some gear on him. We're going to have to go get him. So we were sitting there waiting, and then they, right away, they just killed the entire chain of command, incoming and outgoing. And the last guy left, he was a major. He's a really nice guy. He was a staff officer his whole life. And everyone he knew around him just got killed. So he sat down with catatonic. So it was up to this captain with me, new captain, a guy named Jeff, and he took charge, the whole country. So, I mean, you imagine that as a young guy in your 20s.
Yeah.
And
no, actually, no, I can't imagine. I'm saying yes because you're saying it, but no, the answer is no, I can't imagine, and anyone listening can't fucking imagine.
So, they're giving us orders and all this bullshit, and they're like, do not go to the crash site. Dude, are you kidding me? They're a couple hours away, and he basically like, yep, I understand, and then get a vehicle. So they sent some 6 dudes down. He led 5 dudes down there. By then, the Kurds had started securing the site, and everyone was, tore up.
Right.
So we were waiting for the Air Force, and everything was mixed up, and you can imagine screwed up. So then we're waiting for them to come pick us up to go down and try and pick up the bodies, and they flew right over us, and they're like, yeah, we don't have enough room on these helicopters, and it's because they packed it with a bunch of shit dicks, like colonels and their radio men.
Yeah.
And they flew right over us. But the only thing they didn't bring besides dickheads was fucking body bags. So they brought 12 for 26 people. So the first bags we got in were just our friends, and we were starting to sort and trying to figure it out. And then the next, it was just choppers full of pieces. And we were sorting it in the middle of the night under fucking headlamps, and it was fucking horrendous.
Yeah.
I dreamed of that for 25 years. You'll never put that away. There's no freaking psychologist that can talk you out of it. And we pieced our friends together and got them out, And soon thereafter, I flew out, and I got sent back to Turkey. And back then
and just to start from earlier originally, is this your first deployment there, or this is second?
Yeah, it was my first
deployment.
So we went down.
Just clarifying.
Yeah.
This is your first run at all this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
great.
Right when I get back, it was just like, drink up, Johnny. That was shitty, so just drink. And man,
what did you say, Sammy? Was your second? Yeah.
Right before.
So just because they can't hear you, so Sammy, you that was your first deployment, and then it was your.
It was my second.
Oh, I'm sorry, your second.
Right after my first there.
Your first there. Okay. All right. Continue.
So I went back to Turkey, and I remember it was just Sergeant Major. I mean, just think about how this is when I walk in, and it was fucked up. I was really fucked up. And I'm gonna try not to cry when I tell you this.
You can.
In the end.
If you start crying, I'm coming up there. You got to catch it. Don't know what it is. Because I'm welling up right now because we jumped right into the freaking tank, provide cover, trying to save the world. All of us together.
Okay, continue.
All of us together.
So,
thanks, Sammy.
and this will kind of bring it home.
And there's been a lot of tears on this stage in the last couple episodes, just so you know. So yeah.
So at the end of the night, I was covered in body parts and shit, piss and brains, and the brains were from the door gunner, and I knew him, and I liked him, and the sun's coming up, and the first chopper in. It's no one to care for us or anything. There's a bunch of fucking lawyers, a bunch of Air Force dickheads. And this is a pretty memorable part. There was a 06 that came walking up to me in starches and spits, and I'm covered in brains and shit and blood. And I'm trying to just do my best to get the brains off my chest and put them in a baggie because I knew the kid, and I was just trying to, how do you do it? How do you get it right? How do you?
Yeah.
And I was just pulling those brains off, and this lawyer came up and said, I need to speak to you, son. And I was like, go fuck yourself, man. And I had brains in my hands when I said it. And just as I turned away, he was trying to pull the colonel thing, and I saw him get choked by a fella. And Sue grabbed him by the neck and choked him a little bit, and that was the end of that,
Yeah.
And, by the time we got back to the house, this is 1994, there's no phones or computers. It was on CNN. By the time they got me up to the house, they're like, man, let's get these guys showered off.
And this is on CNN, but it's interesting because this is when people weren't watching the news like they watch it now. Right. Like if I asked someone that's let's say a 60-year-old civilian now, back in 94, did you remember this on the news? Probably 90% of them are going to be like, nah, I don't remember that.
Yep.
Because people weren't so, and we talked about this earlier about and I won't say who we were talking about because I know he watches the show, where 8 hours of Fox News or 8 hours of fucking CNN is will fuck your mind up. And I'm not saying fuck your mind up like what you or anyone else went through. That's not the same kind of fuck your mind up, but it's to make the hate, the discontent.
Absolutely.
Scott Mann said it in one of his presentations talks about it in his book. Like, you don't get caught up in the churn, I think is what he called it.
Yeah.
But
and just step back and take a breath. And what do you think?
Yeah.
You're being told what to think. And at the time, CNN wasn't really that way, but I thought they were putting it out pretty good. I mean, it was in every chow hall in the military.
Right.
It wasn't handled very well. Like, I got back, and it was like, drink up, Johnny, and go get in fights, and you'll feel better.
Yeah.
And,
weren't you telling me a story earlier, and I'm trying to remember if we were having drinks last night or if you said it to me today, where you had just, in a combat situation, you smoked this guy, and you were like, yeah, man, it's like fucking weighing on you, and you're at the chow hall, and everyone's like cheering you on, and the one of your senior enlisted guys, leaders, says, hey man, case of beer on me, great job, and you're sitting here going, man, that's fucked up.
Yeah. And
yeah, he blew his heart through his fucking back, and here you are going, yeah, you just go straight through that door. Yeah. Sammy's trying to find the bathroom. And we're not cutting that out, by the way. Editors, when you listen to that, Sammy's going to the bathroom.
Well, at least he's looking for a bathroom.
Yes.
So
Yeah. That's a positive. Instead of going in the corner. Add some humor to it, right?
So when I got back, I was beating people up, getting drunk, and acting a fool. And it was kind of funny because...
Back in the U.S.?
Yeah, no, in Turkey.
Okay,
in the
back.
Sergeant Major. Well, I get back, I'm screwed up royal, and they have me go to the airfield and give a eulogy for my friend in front of 600 people. And I'm half drunk, and it was a shit show.
Because you're coping. It's coping
Yeah,
mechanism.
it was a shit show. And it was, that's the way you handled it.
You were
That's the way-
E5 at this point?
Yeah.
E5?
Yeah. And
think about that. Let's pause on that for a second for the listeners. E5, you're in your mid-20s, and you're giving a eulogy where you were holding the brains of the individual who's your brother, and you're sitting and talking in front of 600 fucking people.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And
Let's
it was
just
expected of you.
digest that.
So, I was drinking and fighting, acting crazy. Sergeant Major came into my tent one morning and was like, "Look, it's time to shave and maybe get a haircut and rejoin the Army again, buddy." And I did, but I didn't get any better, so they sent me home. And he said that they promised me this school, and I thought I was going to a school, and I get back to Fort Devens, and they were like, "Yeah, but they were lying to you." So go ahead and move to Fort Carson, Turbo. And that's it. I was off on my own. And I guess I should mention, 6 months before, my brother killed my dad and killed himself.
Oh, shit.
Over, it's as bad as you think. My brother got raped by a priest. That same priest tried to, can I give his name?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
His name is Father Mayday. And he raped hundreds of kids in South Chicago, and they kept moving him around. And he tried on me when I was an altar boy. And I remember he grabbed he took me and 5 other guys to an R-rated movie in Indiana. I was raised in a family that only watched G movies.
Right.
And this priest takes me and my friends up to a drive-in movie in Indiana, and he's trying to curl up with everybody. And even at young, I was like, this ain't right.
Yeah, you knew.
And then once he grabbed my knee, I pounded his wrist really hard and said, "Get the fuck away from me, you gay wad."
Yeah.
And he was like, "Gay wad, where do you get that?" I was like, "Are you kidding?" It was almost like I was 10 years old, but I understood it. I already smelled it, but I did not know he'd already got my brother. And
well, he's a pedophile.
Pedophile.
Yeah.
A brutal pedophile. And the Catholic Church covered it up.
Yeah.
So it was brutal. It was brutal. And that was my when it happened. I was in Turkey, and we were drinking all night. We used to do this handover. We had this bar called the GB Club, and we would drink all night in this bar, and we would hand over, and you would stagger onto the plane and go home. Well, I'm hammered out of my skull when they told me, and then they said, "Here, call home." And I call home. My brother's telling me this, screaming at me while I'm hammered out of my skull at 5 a.m. And then the brilliant Sergeant Major is like, sedate him. To the medics, they're like, "We can't sedate him. He's hammered." And they tried something. I don't know what it was. So now I'm staggering around this plane, hammered.
Sedated.
Maybe we should have not said anything and let him get home to his wife and let him figure it out, Yeah. So it was a shit show. But on the other side of it, 10th Special Forces, they pitched in and handed me a big envelope full of money when I got on the airfield, and they said, "Just disappear, and we'll see you when you get back." I got a leave form in my desk, and we'll worry about it when you get back. So that's why I was tied to 10th Special Forces forever.
Right.
These are my brothers. And it hurt. And then I come back. And
there's a lot of 10th group on the
most here.
I feel like the most is 10th.
A ton. Way more.
Yeah.
So, then it was a shit show. And, of course, then 6 months later this happens, and I'm beat up. I was really beat up. But you're like, I'm a Green Beret, man. I need to be tough. And I come home, and I failed scuba school, which is what I really wanted. And I was in shit shape. And I come back from scuba school, and my wife's like...
You hear that, Sammy? He goes, "I was in shit shape."
And my wife hands me I get back from failing scuba school, and my wife says I'm pregnant. And honestly, at the time, I was like, I'm just a shit bag. know, I'm a fucking loser. And now I got a kid on the way, and this kid's got a loser for a dad, you know. But I got, you know, I went back to scuba school, come back, had the baby, and once that kid was in my hands, I was like, I don't, you know, this whole past thing, all these things that have been beating me up, fuck those things. I got to raise this kid. I got to make E7. I got to fucking buy him a dirt bike. Yeah. So it just, as soon as I held my son, I was like, all right, put that shit in the back seat, fuck it, and be a tough guy in Green Beret and fucking do it. But I was having the nightmares, and it was kicking my ass, and I was fighting it. So throughout my career, I was fighting it, and, you know, was raising my kids, and it was great. We had another kid. Everything, my life was going great, and people were like, that's what you do. You just go on. You just like, how do you deal with that? Well, what are you gonna do? I mean, to make it not sound too crazy, but I went into my dad's house and I patched the bullet holes. Yeah. Drywall. Because my dad would want me to. Yeah. You know? So that's what you do. Yeah. And I thought, I'm a tough guy. I'll handle this, and you know, I just put it away. Put it away.
You put it in the box.
So my career went on good, and it was going great. And
but you did four more deployments.
Yeah.
So that was because you did 5 total. Some as a contractor, and obviously some as a Green Beret. So multiple combat tours. Yep. So that box that you're putting away is just filling up with more stuff.
And honestly, you're so childish when you know, I was childish, man. I was like, well, I'm going to get in a war. I'm going to smoke so many motherfuckers that I'm going to feel good about this. Right. And I don't know why that was my thing, but it was like so when 9/11 happened, I was like, all right, once I get over there, I'm going to have my revenge. And I don't know why I thought that would do things, but I was gripping to that as this is going to make me whole. Yeah. And I'm going to be a great soldier. Yeah. So the next deployment was Iraq. We went in there and just, it was like fucking Mad Max, man. It was just sandbags on the floor and getting it on. And I got the best team in Special Forces. To, you know, I don't want to say talk down other teams. But
no, you're not. You're not.
Every
it's good.
single guy was just a awesome, fantastic dude.
True operators.
Yeah, and in the time, I'm like, let's go kick doors and kick people's asses. And they're like, Pat, just slow down. We'll find them, and you go get them. And man, once
you guys were finding them, you're just smoking them.
I was kicking doors and just kicking people through walls, and just, I mean, every single time we, like, as soon as it was done, there was people lying all over the place, beat up, and people were like, holy shit, I've never seen anybody get hit that hard. It was great, you know, in that first part. But then I realized I didn't feel any better. Yeah, you know, it was just, this is empty. You know, this, and you just, but I always wanted to be in wars. I always wanted to fight, and it was going. That part was great, but then you start to mature, and you start to say, well, the most important thing ever, and I went into it that way. If you've ridden home without 26 people, you're never going to want to lose anyone again. You've already tasted that shit sandwich, you know. So, you know,
and you did that, and then, like you said, you're coming back in the country, and you're now, and I don't want to say revenge. I think you kind of used the word revenge, but I think it's more of it's anger that's built up in you, and you want to. Maybe the word is revenge, but you know what I mean. It's more of this anger that's built up, and you're like, I want to smoke every motherfucker that comes across.
Yep, and I just want to, you know, but my guys were more like, we'll capture them. So our MO was not to, you know, when they're out there in the man dance, they, you know, doing the man party out in the middle of nowhere, waiting for you to come hit their freaking house. We didn't do that. We'd wait till we figured out where one of them lived. And then we'd go get him when he was sleeping in his house. Right. He ain't going to shoot at you when he's got his wife and kids in the house. Right. And I'd put a foot through his chest, you know, and we'd drag him outside and take him to Abu G. And then we'd get his friends. And we'd keep doing that, and we just kept doing it and kept doing it. And, man, you know, flying home that first trip was the hardest thing on the planet. I was sitting in the helicopter, and we had all the doors. I had to secure the M60s, and they were covered in skin. And it was heinous, man. And then they transferred us to a C-130, and you're flying home with all the best buddies that are going to take the bodies home. Yeah. And to see men broken like that, and is my friends.
And have you, heinous. At this point, is there a psych that's there? You know,
none.
No. Yeah.
No.
I knew the answer already.
If you mentioned it, you're gone.
Yeah.
It would be that quick. They'd be like, he's crazy. So once the war kicked off after 9/11, it was like, good, this is retribution, and but at the end of that deployment, Bafel Taliban. Okay, so the Talibani was the president of the Kurds. So we did some stuff for him, and he sent me a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue. And
Johnny Walker Blue.
Yeah.
Well, okay, well played.
He's the president.
Yeah.
So,
as he's going to get another Miller Lite right now.
Drink up, Johnny.
Yeah.
So at the end of that deployment, it was just a lot of satisfaction. Our team was so tight, and you've seen us out there hanging around. We're like, man, I would do anything for those guys.
Yeah.
And I would throw down my life in a second for any one of them. There's no way they weren't coming home. There's no way they weren't coming home.
Right.
That was my mission. I'd much rather die than lose any of them.
Yeah.
So.
And you and I were talking. We talked about it last night when you were showing me pictures, and I don't want you to get emotional unless you want to, or if you choose to. But one of the things you said is because you were talking about an individual that you don't really like, and it's still the brotherhood, right?
Sure.
You'll still, if that guy needed you, you would help him. But you're like, that motherfucker has to live with what he did. He did not do the right thing. You know what I'm talking about, right?
And
okay. We don't have to say anything, but just but you remember that conversation.
Sure.
And then after that conversation, the next words out of your mouth, and you said it to myself and one of the guys that was up on the top deck, and you said, what you can live with is you made sure that when you go to bed at night, you can sleep peacefully.
Yep. And my men.
And all of your men, all of your men.
When you're getting
you never left anyone behind.
Got them all home.
Got them all home. And even if it happened to go against what should have, quote unquote, been the way it happened, you went with the morality of all of my men are going to come home.
All of them.
And you can look in the mirror in the morning, and in the everyday GSD mentality of getting shit done, going, I did that, and I can fucking sleep at night because of that.
Yep. And it's, at the very end, what's up?
100%. Facts.
So
Facts.
At the end of that one, I had this bottle of Johnny Walker Blue.
Back to the Johnny Walker Blue. Sorry, I digress.
So I had a 9-man infantry squad, and they'd taken Bafel Talibani up to, yeah. So Bafel Talibani was his son.
I don't know if the recording heard Sammy. Sammy, you just said this is something you haven't relived or heard of heard conversation in the last 20 years, and you're loving it. Is that what you just said? Because
I retired 21 years ago.
Yeah. So you retired 20 years, because I got to make sure the audience can hear you.
100%. Pat and I went to Cuba together.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is,
Afghanistan,
yeah, multiple combat tours, and you're saying what he's saying is,
I have 6 combat tours.
yeah, he's the fucking man right here.
Dude, rock and roll star right there. We went to Cuba together.
Rock and roll star. Amen, brother. Amen, Sammy. Okay. Johnny.
So Johnny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my infantry kids took Bafel Talibani, Jalal Talibani's son, up to Baghdad from our position, and man, they get there, and they're like, Bafel's like, hey, you need to come meet my father, and they're like, you mean we're gonna meet this president?
We're gonna meet the president of the Kurds.
So it wasn't just that. He brought them in and gave them each a gift. He was just like, thank you so much for protecting my son. And then he said, and here's for your boss. He gave me sent me a bottle of Johnny Walker Blue. And I took that thing and put it under my bed, and I was just like, all right, when we get out of here. So the last day, we went in, and man, we were at the airport, and I'm just beaming because I'm taking everyone home,
Yeah.
And man, somebody found all these really nice glasses. Sweener. Wait, the Sween. So he finds all these glasses, and man, we went off to because you get burned if you got caught with booze over there.
Yeah.
We stepped off into this room, and we each had a little, I don't drink scotch or anything like that, but I had about a half glass, and I was sipping that, and man, it was just no feeling in the world like that. I'm bringing them home, and
Yeah.
I made it, and I'm sipping whiskey, and
Yeah.
it was incredible. I got to go home, and was awesome. I mean, you can't beat that shit, you
No.
know, because there was bullets flying and there was people. Anything could happen, but my boys were tight and they didn't shoot back. Like, unless you had a target, why would you shoot back? You might hit a civilian. So, man, some of my dudes, there was bullets flying everywhere, and they couldn't identify. They're just stoic. Like, let them fly, bitches. But when we catch you, we're gonna kick your door in and kick your face in. You know.
Yeah.
So, it was an awesome feeling, man. And our team was so tight. We came home, went to Vegas together with our wives. Everybody was tight, and it was just this incredible feeling, you know. So on the next one, I got bumped up, and I was running a task force in Baghdad, and it was just a fucking bullet fest. You know, it was just ridiculous. We're getting shot at every day. We're getting mortared, and it was rough, you know. And
this is on a daily basis.
every day.
So how long was that deployment?
7 months.
So 7 months, and I'm just gonna do quick math, right? 7 months at, 5-6 days a week.
Yep.
You're getting fucking shot at.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Almost. It was insane. The only time the bullet stopped was.
All right,
I was
Sam and Tony.
Deck.
Yeah. See you guys.
See you, Tony. We'll talk.
I'll see you on the
I
Lido
gotta
deck.
get your number, Tony.
So again, going back to you're there for 7 months, and because people, and you don't hear you hear stories, but then you hear the people that and I got to go back. Like I think I said this earlier, and I don't remember if I was on recording or we were talking, but the thing that I love about this cruise is no one's talking about themselves; they're talking about someone else. There's no egos here. There's no fucking bragging. Like I've been hanging out with you for the last 3 days, dinner, drinks, and stuff. And then finally, last night, a couple guys were like, dude, you need to have him on the fucking show. Do you know his fucking story? I was like, no, but he told me your story, and your story. And he's like, that one guy, I won't say his name, told me some stuff about you. And then I was like, dude, you want to come on the show? You're like, I'm not a podcast guy. People need to hear this fucking story. Yeah.
So it went good.
And you guys are getting fucking shot at literally 7 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
Across the river on the Tigris, this mortarman would come in. This guy had his shit together. In my first 4 years, I was a mortarman, so I know. This guy had the sewer caps where you'd flip them, and there was a cup there. Set his mortar in there, and he had a big crew, maybe 15 people, and they'd just pull up. He'd set that mortar up, and man, he was good. He was hitting the shit out of us. He was wounding a lot of guys. We lost 4 Kurds, and then he hit the 101. They had a formation. And boy, he was right on it. He puts them on him, and a bunch of guys got wounded. And man, I wanted to kill that guy really bad. And we're getting mortared nonstop, and you're just getting pissed off.
Yeah.
And so yeah, one day.
But you're training in the power of self-control that kept you from just going and smoking every single motherfucker you saw.
Yeah.
It's at a level that can't even be explained.
Yeah, and you want to do anything
because
to
you've
protect my voice,
already
but
done
you're
it.
gonna do
You've already smoked a bunch of fucking people. You've already done all of this shit, and your fucking head's fucked up, and you're more angry because you're watching this shit happen, and you have to go, okay, how can we do this the right way?
Yeah, and it's our job was to train 36 Commando. It was a bunch of Kurds. If you look at where we were, it's called Adamia Kadamia. It's where the Shias meet the Sunnis, and we went in there with 500 Kurds. So it's just like, it's like throwing a grenade inside a fucking fuel vat. It's gonna go, and it was heinous. It was hairy, and it was a bullet fest. And then it was, need to get in here, and we'd drive in, and someone would be yelling at me over haircuts or something.
Yeah.
It's like I just got shot at, and I just saw a bunch of dead people.
And you're worried that my fucking hair's unsat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was
fuck out of here.
Really that ridiculous. Yeah. And so at the end of it, I went home, and they wanted me to stay in, but on March 13th, 2005, I was driving an LMTV unarmored through Baghdad. I used to drive through it every day.
So before your birthday?
Yeah, and I wouldn't let any of the dudes drive that vehicle. It was how we were running supplies for the 36th Commando. We had to get them supplied. We had to get them, and we had no log plan to get stuff out to us. It was just so freaking hairy. So we'd take 4 up armors, and then I would drive the LMTV in between, and they would shoot the crap out of me, and I would unarmored. Just pin it to the floor, stand on a steer, and just say, go, 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 and just drive. And, well, I was doing good for many months and did some shit. Whenever someone did ride,
if anyone's listening to this and not watching it on the actual videos, his face is priceless right now.
So, and I got to see Baghdad through this giant picture window, and then March 13th, it was raining, and we were coming down a hill on Force and Irish is the most dangerous place in the world. It was Route Irish was between the Baghdad airport and the Green Zone, and then Force ran up north. Well, we were just getting onto Force. I was coming down the hill pinned, and this dude hit. It was raining. Not a single windshield wiper in the fucking country's working anymore. They're all ripped apart.
Right.
So I hit the windshield wipers, and it's the first time in I don't know how many years, and you're like, oh shit. And I said, slow down, I can't see anything. And Haji doesn't fight in the rain. Didn't have any Gore-Tex man dresses, so
I love your humor.
So I came down the hill, and the guy in front of me hit a big puddle, and it was either hit him with the truck or try to evade it. And I pitched the truck, spun at 180, and flipped it on the roof, and broke my back in 3 places. My pastor's, I did have a pastor at night. He slammed into me. I held him like this as we went over, and we both landed on my head, and broke my back. 3 places in my lower back, 1 in my neck, and it was kind of wild because I was upside down, and I'm seeing my friends running at me, freaking out.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can say it now.
Yeah.
So,
you have to think about that.
My idiot brother sends me booze to the combat zone, and I'm thinking a nice bottle of tequila or something. No. He sends me like the bottled fucking, what were they, like rum.
Yeah.
Maybe it was
some shit bottle or something.
No, I'm talking a
nice.
mixer, like a mixer.
Oh, like the margarita mix?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like not, yeah. And you're like, dude, just consolidate.
Yeah.
Straight vodka,
Yeah.
But it was daiquiris. It was literally, he sends me a box of daiquiris to combat. And it's in the truck with me. And I flip over, and my friend's running up, and I'm hurting, but I'm like, the adrenaline's, I don't feel anything yet. I heard my back break, but I pushed the box out the window and said, dude, take this and hide it.
Yeah, take this because you don't want to get in trouble for having it.
And then they pulled me out of the truck, and I got pictures of me walking around that night barking at people, barking, let's get this fucking truck going. And it was heinous, man. So that night too, I go back, the doc's like, Pat, I think you're fucked up. I think you're in bad shape. But it just, at the time, it was like, here's a big bucket of painkillers for my medic to take care of me. And
800 milligrams of Motrin.
Oh, no, a little bit more.
No, I'm kidding.
Toradol shots and painkillers. So they were like, you can't have your LMTV back. It's fucked. So they gave me an old, like, World War II Army truck with the windows that come out and everything, like an old 5-ton. And I drove that son of a bitch through Baghdad with a broken back to my base because I'm a psycho. Yeah. Because I just don't, you don't know when to quit because you're told to never quit your whole life. Yeah. And it's like, I ain't quitting. Yeah. I'm not quitting until they kill me. So, I got back there and I was really hurting. And so my replacement was on the way. It was going to take a month, and I wanted one specific guy to take over. Right. And he was my junior when we were younger. And I stayed for a month. And I put on my body armor every day. And I just shot up with Toradol and went to combat. And
continued to be in the battle.
Yeah. And by then
with a broken back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'd had at least 10 TBIs. Just from
10 traumatic brain injuries.
Yes.
10.
So
just in case the recorder didn't hear that, fucking 10.
So I got number 11.
Yeah.
You start to get them easier, and we were in an alleyway. When the door charges went off, I blanked out and dropped to my knees and popped up and started doing what we do. And you start to realize, man, I'm in bad shape here.
Yeah.
And you're like, I ain't quitting.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to kill me. So finally, my replacement got there, and I got to go home. But I started to assess the damage, and when I got home, they were like, "Hey, you're gonna go to Sergeant Major Academy. You're gonna do well. And I was like, I think I'm done. I wasn't sure. But
And how many years is this? 19 now? Because you did 21, so you did.
I was about at 19. And the docs were saying, dude, if you want to not be in a wheelchair, you need to go start taking care of these injuries because I've just been pushing them off. And so, I was make that tough decision that I'm not going to be a Green Beret anymore.
Yeah.
That's all I ever wanted to be. And so I started to think about getting out, but I ran a bunch of.
But no, the actually real statement on that, I just want to clarify, is that you're not going to actively be a Green Beret, but you're always a Green Beret.
Yep, you're right. You're right. Yeah. So I had to make that decision, and in the end, I ran some pre-mission train-ups and stuff like that. I used to run all the combatives, and it's pretty cool because whenever I walk around 10th Special Forces Group, everybody says, that guy used to kick the crap out of us,
Yeah.
It's like my back was broken. How was I beating you guys up?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, the stories that were going around when you were talking about certain individuals, of course we won't say any names unless they come on the show, and then I'm having a beer, having a drink with some of these guys, and they're like, have you talked to Pat? And I was like, yeah, I've been fucking hanging out with him like every night here. And he hasn't told me anything. Like, as far as I know, you were in for 5 years. Or 6 years, you were a Green Beret and you got out. Like, that could have been the story. Like, because you haven't said shit. And then last night when the stories were rolling, and I was like, and then that's when I actually right over there at the Green Beret Lounge where we're actually right now, and you're and then you were showing me pictures, and I was like, oh fuck, yeah. So fast forward to, because I know we're going to be running out of time here soon, but let's talk about how you mentally, for lack of a better word, got back on track.
Yep. And this is what I wanted to talk about the most.
Yeah.
Because. I was one screwed up little cowboy, and I went to contract. I got offered a bunch of money to go do contract. Okay, so by contracting, I mean I went to D.C. for 4 years at the DTRA, Defense Threat Reduction Agency. It was a great job. It was cool, but I was coming apart. Just I couldn't be in rooms full of people.
And most people know that watch this my show understand contracting. You're not a contractor, building houses. You're a government contractor. I know it sounds silly that I'm having to say that.
Oh, yeah.
But as a former government contractor, sometimes people are like, oh, you were a contractor in Southeastern Asia? You're building houses for the poor? No.
How many crappers did you build?
Yeah, no, it's fucking zero, bro.
Yeah, zero.
Anyway, So you're done. You're like, you know what? I can't be in a room. I'm 11 fucking TBIs. You've busted your fucking body. You've been in multiple gunfights, months at a time, bullets flying over your head. Your head's all fucked up. You've dealt with loss, tragedy, dead bodies around you. Unfortunately, the wounds of war of having to eliminate targets. So what brings you, or what opens the door to ibogaine? And I say that right. I always say, I think I say it.
Just to clarify, like with gunfights, mostly we just got shot at, and then we'd have our little wins. But it was just getting shot at nonstop you're surrounded in a city with people that hate you.
I love the downplay on it. Cool. Yeah. Most of the gunfights in a 7-month period, we were only getting shot at, and we only had to shoot back a couple times. Cool, man. Good story.
I just, it's
believe me, we're not embellishing. You're just Pat. Trust me, you're fucking good, bro.
So
your two boys left because they're just like I think they want to get on the show.
So I had 6 surgeries the last 2 years, and I was running a combatives room, so I was teaching fighting to the guys. It meant a lot to me, and I was going in there on crutches. I mean, I'd just get a surgery. I'd be like, I'm having surgery Friday, but I'll be in here Monday, and I'd be like, well, I'm a scumbag, and I didn't make it till Wednesday.
Yeah.
And I'm in there anyway. And I love teaching the boys, and I just wanted to keep them alive,
Yeah.
And it's cool because where I work now, it was all those senior guys were young guys then.
Right.
And they all remember me. So
it
works out. And I had 6 surgeries there. I got to D.C., and it was just, I'm thinking, okay, well, I had more surgeries to do. I had these TBIs. And anytime I brought up TBI to any of the doctors, they changed the subject. So at one point, they had me go to 9 different appointments 11 different appointments all over D.C., take a day off work, drive all over D.C. to do some stupid shit, TBIs, like putting square blocks in square holes. And then, you know, they lost all the paperwork. And then they were just giving me these clowns for doctors. And then I had another back surgery, failed by some dick bag.
How many surgeries have you had?
13.
Only 13, huh? Just easy.
I'm hoping for 14.
Yeah, 13 surgeries, 11 TBIs, fucking blown up, shot at, smoking people. Yeah, no, you're good, man. Head's clear as fucking day.
Nah, it's just, what is it? Right as rain.
Yeah, right as rain. Clear as fucking mud.
And that's all of us. So I was going down the tubes, man, bad.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm a fighter. I like to fight, and I was like boxing, kickboxing. It was just grappling, jiu-jitsu. I love that stuff. So anytime that came up, they're like, send him, and then he'll teach everybody else.
Right.
And I really, really enjoyed it. So, you know, once I couldn't do that, it was just wearing me out, and it was a lot of stuff I started to not be able to do, and that was part of it. Remember, working out every day, an hour and a half minimum.
Yeah.
You know? And whenever I'd get frustrated, I'd just take off and go run 10 miles, and then I couldn't, and I would just sit there. You know.
Yeah.
And you're frustrated, and they were pounding me with freaking painkillers, and then, you know, right before I got out. So this is probably pretty important. Right before I got out, I wanted on my records that I was hurting.
Right.
I've been hurting since '94. I'm getting out in 2007. I walked into the psych lab over there, you know, the hospital psych office, and they're like, holy shit, there's a special forces guy here. Because I'm done if I go say anything to them.
Yeah.
And I didn't give a shit. So I walked in.
And what a bad system.
Yeah, it was sucking. They're working on it now, but
yeah,
I walked in there and said, I'm hurting and I need to talk to somebody, and they're like, oh shit. So by the time I got back to the unit that day, which is right next door, they already knew. They already heard about it, but I'm on my way out. You know, it's not like they were doing anything bad to me, but that was the culture, that he's got to go. He's a broken toy.
Yeah.
You know? Well, I was already out, so I retired and nothing happened bad about it. But once I got to D.C., I realized there's no help. They offered me some shit. I mean, it was unbelievable. It was 11 Arabic guys to be my counselor. And it's like, I'm not sure that's going to work out, that I'm going to speak to an Arab guy about what happened over there.
Yeah.
And not to be, you know, some racist or some, you know, somebody hates somebody for the religion. It wasn't anything about that. It was just that.
No, it's a culture thing. You're sitting here, you're like, I'm going to tell a story about fucking what happened in your country.
Yeah.
And like, how are you helping me? You're not going to like me.
Yeah.
Because what I'm going to tell you is going to be very bad.
Yeah.
It's going to be very bad. I can see it in your face. It's very bad. What I'm going to tell you, doctor, you're not going to want to hear. So there's no way I can trust you to help me, because what I'm going to tell you, you've never fucking heard before.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, how about this woman? She helped a bunch of people with 9/11. And I was like, I won't say her name, but she was the most, it was kind of ridiculous. I was in traffic, and I called her, and she said, you know, I'm here to help you, Patrick. And, you know, I was like, well, I just probably need Prozac or something. If you just just write me a script, it might be good, and I don't have to suffer this traffic to get to see you. And she wrote the script. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, I hang up the phone. You're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I left that job because I was just losing it. You know, I couldn't live in D.C. anymore. I wanted to go back to Colorado. And I went back to Colorado, and I started to seek help, you know. And then Afghanistan opportunity came up, and I was like, well, I haven't fucked with those people yet. So off I went like an idiot, and kept doing tours over there as a contractor, and my mental state was in shit. So I would come back after 90 days, and I'd be drinking on the way home from the airport, and I would drink for 90 days hard, and then go back to Afghanistan, and it was just a shit show for me. I was really just going down the tubes, man. It was bad. And there was a couple funny incidents where guys were like, holy shit, because just, you know, like throw some Afghan on his head because he got near me, and, you know, he'd be like, you can't be doing this. And you'd be like, well, sorry about that whole thing. And someone would cover it up. I always had top cover. I got, you know, if you're a super soldier, good soldier, you got top cover. And the guys will take care of you. They're like, he's a good warrior. He's just, you know, he beats people up when he gets mad.
He's just a little mad right now.
So I had tons of top cover and great bosses, and it just carried me along until I came home from Afghanistan, and I just said, I'm going to try and do something in the civilian world. And I was trying to be an electrician, but I had 11 bad like traffic things, and the cops got called because I would flip out and just drive my truck till I got home, just like Baghdad. I would pin it and just go. And it's kind of funny because one day I got called into the state police. My wife's like, oh shit, and I go in and there's 2 of them. And as soon as I walked in, they're like, Mr. Flatley, you've got a lot of stuff against you right now. A lot of people are afraid that you act crazy in traffic. And they said, but listen, we don't want you to be mad, but we pulled your military records. And we just want to shake your fucking hand. God damn. So,
right.
So I'm out of it again. And that was always with cops. They were always like, get in there and kick ass, kid, and just get out of here for right now. You just clean this bar
Try
out.
not to come back up.
Just don't do this again. But these guys they sat me down and they said, look, the one guy was like, I've been in Baghdad and I get it. What's happening with you, bro? But you got to stop or you're going to get in trouble. And I went home. I had a great job I loved as an electrician, and I just went home and stayed home. I was afraid because I didn't do all this crap to hurt civilians or hurt Americans. I did it to hurt guys that would hurt Americans.
Yeah, bad guys.
Yeah, and I don't want to hurt Americans. And now all of a sudden I'm out of control, and I can't control it. And I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to hurt any Americans. I just want to hurt the bad guys. So I went home for years, and it just got worse and worse and worse. The nightmares were wicked. And then that brain incident I told you about, it started out, it'd be an hour or 2. I'd feel exactly like that kid, just helpless trying to get cleaned up. And then it would go for 4 days, and I'd feel exactly that way.
Right.
And you just get in your basement and you don't leave. And, my life, everything around was great, but I was effed up, and I was effing up everyone around me. So, I guess jump to ibogaine, right?
Yeah.
So what happened was, we always we always watch UFC with a bunch of guys, and there's a SEAL there, and we were friends, and when I didn't show up one night, he asked the guys, where's Pat? And he said, man, he can't get the brains off his chest tonight. And he's like, what the fuck does that even mean? How does that, what do you mean he can't get the brains off his chest? And he said, that's what he says. He can't get the brains off his chest right now. And he's like, well, give me his number. And he kept calling me, and he wouldn't stop.
Yeah.
And I was getting pissed off the guy.
SEALs are relentless.
Yeah.
They won't stop calling me.
And he wouldn't stop. He didn't give up. And he was like, this is ridiculous, man. We're doing stuff. We're working with guys. They've got hurt guys, too.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
And they were way
All
ahead.
the branches do.
Yeah, and they were way ahead of us. And they were way ahead of us in it. And so finally, the stuff he was pushing me towards didn't work. I mean, I couldn't meditate. I couldn't do anything. It was like... the only way I can explain it is like the TVs when we were kids before there was like remotes.
Yeah.
And someone keeps changing that channel when you just start watching it, but it's all shit. It was all bad stuff. It was just hurting me. And I couldn't control it. I couldn't stop it. It was just beating the shit out of me. And I mean, I'd go on like trips with my friends, and they'd be like, hey Pat, we got this room over here for you. You can sleep in there because there's going to be screaming. And nightmares and all that bullshit, and it was just killing me. It was killing me. And so one day, a lady named Lori Camper called me, and she said, Pat, here's what you do after your nightmares. Here's what you do when you're mad. Here's what you do when you lose it, and here's how you apologize to your family. And I was like, holy shit, this lady just pegged me hard. And she said, Pat, my husband's a SEAL, and he's home. He came home. He did ibogaine, and he came home, and he's good. And this is all going to go away, Pat, I promise you. And no one had ever told me that. Anytime I went to the docs, and by then I'd had a dozen surgeries or whatever, and I had a great doc. And they were just, and anytime the VA was just pumping you full of painkillers and SSRIs. And every time they give you an SSRI, about 6 weeks later, you're suicidal. And you're just like, man, I'm done with this, man. I don't want to hurt my family anymore. I don't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah.
I want it to end. And if I got to end me, then that's what needs to happen.
Right.
So she told me that, and she said, I'm going to ask you something, and I don't know how you're going to react, but I want you to do this ibogaine study at Stanford. I want to let him study, and I thought I was already dead, so I said, yeah, let's bring it on. I'm going to save my friends. By then, I had 12 friends that committed suicide. And my best friend in the military did it. My best friend in the civilian world did it. And bunches of friends. And you just couldn't stop it. And you're just like, yep, and sooner or later, that'll be me too.
Yeah.
And by then, I was like, well, fuck it.
Yeah, fuck it. I'll give this a shot.
Let's go. And I went to Stanford, and it went to shit the first time. I got there, and I wasn't good. You know, I was like trying to get through the airport and everything, and it was rough because I hadn't been out. And I was trying not to get out, and so I got to Stanford finally. Though I almost quit, and well, I better explain it. So I come down, I land at San Jose Airport, and I get out of the plane. I come down the stairs, and the Hodge was on. So there's like 200 guys in man dresses and mirrored shades in the freaking airport when I walk downstairs, and I just lose it.
Yeah.
And I run outside, and I curl up behind this pillar. I call Lori Camper. I said, I'm all fucked up. I don't know if I can do this. And she said, let me get Trevor on the line. And Trevor's down in Mexico. He runs Ambio Life Clinic, and he's...
What's the clinic?
Ambio Life.
Ambio Life.
Yeah. And he got on the phone with me, and he said, Pat, fuck the study. I'm going to send a guy up there and get you. All right? And I'm going to bring you down here, and I'm going to treat you, and you're going to be good. You understand me? We're going to bring you home. You're going to be okay. And he was so sure of it. And no one had ever told me that. In all these years, you know, all those years of just suffering. And I'll never forget it. It was the first person that said they could help me. And I said, I'm going to man up. Give me a minute. I'm going to hang up the phone right now, and I'm going to fucking man up. I'm going to get in a cab and go to goddamn Stanford. So I did. And I got to Stanford, and it was rough, you know. And when I got in there, like I said, I just thought I was dead. I wasn't sure yet what was going to happen. So, like the first day, the researchers are asking me questions, and they were like, hey, can we film this? And I was like, yeah, I'm already dead. Who cares? I even said, you're going to save my friends. So, you know, I was, let it go, let it rip. And they tore me apart, you know. And that's what therapy is. They just sit there and keep opening that wound and keep ripping that scab off, and you just get tired of it. And you're just like, you don't want to do it anymore. It's just painful, and it doesn't fucking get you anywhere. But I figured this is the last time I'm going to do this. So, let it go. Yeah. I said, film it. I don't give a shit. I cry like a little bitch, but I'm going to let it rip. And I told him how horrible it was. I described what it's like to carry your friends out, and what it's like to see one of your best friends ask you to help him find his best friend's parts. Yeah. And I dreamed about that forever. Yeah. Of him. And not only that, just feeling their pain and feeling my friends' pains when they're losing buddies. And it was crushing me. So we did that. We did an fMRI. It takes about an hour. It was the first time anybody really scanned my brain. It just blew me up. Actually, before that, I did go to UCLA for a week, and they did an MRI, a basic MRI, and these two doctors came in and said, you have some damage. It's not permanent, but not that they said it wasn't permanent, but they said it's just not going to be damaging. You can get through this, but they don't know what those little pathways do. Right. So at Stanford, they did this brain scan. They did a bunch of tests, a bunch of cognitive tests. And then we flew down to Mexico. Or we flew to San Diego. A guy picks you up, drives you to San Diego, or drives you into Tijuana. And I met Trevor Miller. This guy's magic, man. This guy's awesome. Like, you just feel it. He's like, he's just a force, you know? Like, you just understand that this guy does this. This is what he does. He fixes people. He brings them home. So I was scared, man. I was scared, real scared. So we did ibogaine, and ibogaine's a root from Africa. Yeah. And the only way I can explain it is that God put this in the ground so we can have pathways open that we can talk to him again. When my brother my brother and my dad got killed, I actually became an atheist. Even though I went to church all the way up until I went in the Army, and
Right.
I just turned away from God. I was mad. I was really angry. And I used to tell my team, you know, there ain't no God. It's just us, and we're dirt when we're dead. You know?
Yeah.
And that's how I went through the war. It was just an empty vessel. So once I went down there and saw Trevor, did ibogaine, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, very chaotic at first, 12-hour trip. You know, this ain't your, you know, normal hippie fucking fun acid trip. It's just a real deal. It's a route from Africa, and
And you have a counselor there with you, or a person helping you because you're shitting yourself, you're puking.
Well, before that, they set me up with a counselor, and they
Right.
prepare you to do this. And they prepare you with some meditations and some breathing. But whenever I'd close my eyes, I would just see these movies of bad shit.
Yeah.
So we were doing what we could, but they also prep you to say, all right, this is going to be hairy. This isn't some fun thing. It's going to be hairy. And it was. It really was. And you just breathe through it. And then what they did counsel me on did work. I got through the first 3 hours. It was rough. And then they actually use this Bwiti tribal music. And it just, it's rough. It's not fun. But then they switched over to this beautiful music. And I guess I step back a little bit. My dog died. Everyone says, hey, vet, get a dog.
Yeah.
I got a dog. And 16 years later, he died.
Yeah.
And I went to shit. I went off the fucking cliff.
Yeah.
And it just got worse. So once the first 3 hours was over, and then it just changed into this other thing. Even though you're blindfolded, I could see this. It was like space. And the first thing was my dog came out and walked up to me. He used to lick my face when I was having nightmares and wake me up. And he was always near me. He was always touching me. And he always knew when I was messed up.
Right.
But when he was dying, it was horrible. I was watching him die, and it was killing me, and it was killing him. And once he came out and stepped on my chest like that and was looking at my face, I could feel the pain he had trying to protect me. And then he went inside of me. He kind of melted inside of me, and I could feel him.
Yeah.
And he was there with me. And I know it sounds nuts, but and then there was a lot of it different in it.
Well, it's a trip, right? So you're tripping, but it's not like like you said, it's not like your acid trip or your mushroom trip.
No.
This is a controlled situation where they're opening up the boxes and they're cleaning out the boxes.
Yeah.
Right?
But it's
as we can hear these guys
Yeah.
doing dishes or some shit back there, which is fucking annoying me. But anyway,
But they can't control what's going to happen.
Right.
And they don't know. It doesn't really matter what happens. What's going to happen in the morning is you're going to be better.
Yeah.
Because the medicine's going to get to know you, and you're going to get to know the medicine, and then it knows.
how many times have you went back to do it?
Just once.
So you've only done it once,
Just once. I did.
and you're in a good spot right now.
Yeah. So, well, I'll explain. So ibogaine was, I did it once, and then I flew right back to Stanford to be studied. Right. So the same scenarios. Sit in front of the psychs, and they were like, "What happened April 14th, 1994?" I was just like, it was a bad day.
Yeah.
Really rough day. I lost a lot of friends, and you could see him going, "Holy shit, this is different." 'Cause
Right.
to be, just 5 days before, I was completely broken down, bawling, trying to get through it, and now I'm just telling them what happened,
Yeah.
and they're just like, "Whoa," and they're not supposed to show their cards, like, and but they were.
But they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Right.
So then they did another fMRI. They did another study or another brain scan, and then a bunch of cognitive tests, and I was blowing it away. And they're like, because my memory was shot. You can't think because most of it was just anger. You're so angry. I try to do anything when you're angry.
Right.
You can't even beat off when you're angry unless you're a real creep. So
I like how you still find humor in all this.
Sorry, I don't know if you can use that.
Yeah, it's gonna go in there. It's not getting cut off.
That was very Army. Very Army. What are you talking about earlier?
So fast forward, it worked for you.
Worked. So, I came home
And how are you today?
awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
And how is it like to be on this ship with fucking 1,000 of your brothers and
Well, and I was a little worried about, Of course. You know,
There's stories, there's conversations. Is it bringing you back down to good memory lane or
awesome.
or holy shit, I don't want to remember that?
No, it's all the guys.
Isn't that fucking great?
Yeah, this has just been fantastic. And the other side of it was, you know, I got to take my wife on a cruise and be normal. And I flew down here,
and she's nice, by the way. I like her. Yeah,
I didn't flip out on the plane. I didn't, you know.
Yeah.
And we got on the boat, and I was like, all right, we're in closed spaces, blah blah. But none of it's bugging me, you know.
Nice.
But it's been 3 years since I did it, and.
Do you think you'll need to go back and get a refresher?
Well, I don't want to. I see it as a gift from God.
Okay.
It's just He gave me this thing, and it made me better, and I need to act right and do my meditation and breathing and cut down on your booze and stuff like that.
Well, sorry you're hanging out with me on the trip. Cut down on the booze isn't working.
Definitely didn't help. But if you've seen, I sip. I don't.
No, you know I'm kidding. You know I'm kidding.
I mean, you've seen me out at 4 a.m. I'm not drunk. I don't.
Because we're underway. 4 a.m. is like noon, right? It doesn't matter. There's no real time out here.
Yeah, I just don't get tanked, and I don't go back into that place you go.
Yeah.
But it's been incredible. So yeah, and you know,
So do you have do you have a message for individuals, and obviously we can talk about Green Berets, but in the special forces community, the special operations community, and in anyone that has been through PTSD or TBI, what is your message about going down the road you did to get help?
Hold on, man. There's an answer now. We're working on it. You know, I mean,
because that's when we talked about. That's when you brought up. Vets Exploring Treatment Solutions.
Right. So that's who sent me down to Mexico. That's who did all of this. Lori Camper pulled me out of my shithole and got me right, you know. I mean, not shithole, but I was in a deep, dark place, and that ibogaine just blew it out of me, you know. And you have some recovery time when you're done with it, and you're lying in bed. They bring you up to a bed, and you lie you down, and now they take your computer, I guess, and phone, but they didn't yet. They didn't know, you know, and Trevor was treating addicts with this, and this is something I need to touch on. 13 years, they were giving me painkillers, and by jugs, you know, whole bunches.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't like taking them. They make me sick. I feel like shit all the time, but your body needs them. Your body's going to depend on them.
Yeah,
So then any issues, 2020, I had my back fixed. So 13 years to EVA boned me, you know, hard, rode me like a freaking pony, and I was all fucked up. They just kept on handing me painkillers, and they kept on handing me SSRIs every 6 weeks. I'd be suicidal. They'd try something else, and it was heinous, and I just don't want anybody to go through it ever again. So once that was done, I went in, and this doctor fixed my back. He put in titanium, and I woke up from the surgery, and I was like, I'm whole. I feel good again. I don't hurt. And I knew my spine was fixed. So, but a few months later, you realize I'm effed up bad from these painkillers, whatever they gave me. So, although it was like my back's fixed, I'm back. I'm doing great. I realized how bad it was. Because before it was always on painkillers, SSRIs, and you're just a freaking zombie. It sucked. So, that's when I really started to get bad and go down the tubes. And that's when Vets shows up.
Yeah.
Lori Camper talked me into going down and doing this crazy thing with Stanford. And from the bed, this is kind of cool. They bring me up there. I lay down on my bed. I pull out my computer. I went on Facebook. I don't give a shit. I didn't have a clearance at the time, so I was like, hey, everybody, I just went down and did some wacky psychedelic, and I'm home. I just came home. I just came home from the war, man, and I feel great.
Yeah.
And it was like, boop, boop, I got a message. This guy's like, Pat, I don't know if you remember me, man. And I do remember him because we had a 12-man A team. The team sergeant came from my team, Kelly, and he got killed. And then we had 3 suicides on that team, and one of those guys was one of my best buddies with the warrant. And man, you know, it was, so when he messaged me, I was like, I do remember you. And what do you need? let's do it. And I told him I just did this, and he said he had already written himself off. He thought he was dead. He hadn't left his basement in years, and I say that like a generalization.
Yeah, no, I got you.
You're hiding in the foxhole.
Yeah,
You just can't deal.
Yeah.
And he's like, does it work? I was like, it worked, brother. Come and do it. So I called right away, and they got him in. And he was like number 4 or whatever that came in. And, man, I mean, a week later, I got that message, like, Pat, I'm on the other side with you, brother. I'm good.
That's awesome.
It was just this, I was dancing around. Like, yeah. Holy shit, man. And I called my medic.
How good did that make you feel?
You know, and I called my medic right after that. Right after that, like, I'm still in the bed tripping.
Yeah, right.
I called my medic. And I was like, brother, there's an answer. And he's a religious guy. I said, God, just talk to me. He told me I'm going to be all right. And I want you to. He said, did you just say God?
Because he knew.
It used to really bother him that I was an atheist. And I wasn't an atheist. I was just confused and dizzy and wrong, you know. But he said, what? You know, did you just say God? I said, yeah, I talked to him. He talked to him. I didn't talk to him. He talked to me. He told me, I'm good. I'm good, man. I'm going to be okay. And I got to see my father-in-law and my brother, and I got to see my dad and my friends that got killed, and it made it all right. I even saw a dude I shot. I felt bad about. And he said, you're a good man. You're protecting your brothers. I get it, you know, kind of thing. And I saw a little kid that I saw put a bullet hole in his head on the side of the road, and I just wanted to kill whoever did that, you know. And it becomes an obsession, and it just, that little kid was popping in my head for years. Yeah. And I saw him, he was flying around my head. He was an angel, and he didn't have a bullet hole. And you've never cried like that in your life. I mean, there's puddles on either side of my face. I'm sure of it. I was bawling. It took it away, and that's my new memory. Yeah. It's just, it replaced it. And I can't thank those people enough.
That's awesome.
So that's my mission. Yeah. So getting the guys, and vets asked me to make a video, so I did. I'll show it to you.
Yeah.
And, man, sometimes you just, you know, it's just, over this time, it's just bringing dudes home. Yeah. It's so good. I mean, I'll get a call from a guy, brother, I'm home, and I just hit the airport. Holy shit, brother. You weren't even exaggerating at all. This is amazing. Yeah. And honestly, I get off the phone and I cry, and I fucking dance around the house, you know? Like, I did it again, I did it again.
That's the win.
That's the win. It's better than anything. You know, it's like, so that's what we've been doing. Yeah. And, you know, it's just that. I mean, guys used to say, you love the war. How the F did this screw you up? And it's like, I don't know. I did love the war. Yeah. It's not that you love war, but I trained for this since I was 10 years old. I wanted to be in wars, and I wanted to fight for America and protect Americans. And how, you know.
And you did.
I just don't think
and
it
you
happens.
did. Yeah. And you did. Yep. And because of that, there was a outcome that hurt you. Yeah. And other people around you. And and this Laura, and I want to make sure I got her name right, Laura Camper.
Lori Camper.
Lori Camper got in your life. Yep. And then you went down another journey. Yeah. And this journey helped you come back to where you should be. Yeah. Right? No, because everything you did in war and everything you saw in war, that'll never change. No. And you know what? You're a fucking warrior, and that needed to happen for our country. And probably for you and the people around you. Yeah. But there's the psychological effects of war that no one wants to fucking talk about. No, and like you said, the VA wants to give you boxes of fucking pills. Yep. I've never gotten so many scripts from the VA. The bottles are bigger. They're even bigger because they want to just send you more.
It's ridiculous.
They're ridiculous. I made a joke about the Motrin 800s earlier. Oh. And Motrin 800, they come in like a mayonnaise fucking jar. And I don't mean the small one that goes in the door. I'm talking the one that goes in the fucking cabinet.
When we used to deploy, we had an M&M man.
Yeah.
The big plastic thing that would give you M&Ms. Yeah. But you'd pull his arm and he'd give you 800s.
800s.
The medic would be
they're
like,
fucking horse
see
pills.
the Motrin man.
Yeah.
The medic would say, see the Motrin man. You pull his hand twice.
Yeah.
And we run.
And it was nothing to take 4 of them at a time, 5 times a day.
Yeah. Well, 800s, 2, like 3 times a day, 1,600 milligrams.
Yeah.
No one's giving you that much outside.
No way.
No way.
No way.
No way.
Absolutely not.
They're just wailing on your
It's like
liver.
the fucking, they're horse pills too, by the way.
Huge. And
But I guess I wanted to go back to that, and I know we've got to wrap this up because we've been at it for a little while, and you do have to enjoy yourself.
Let's go.
But it's crazy to me to think about the opportunity or the changes that if there wasn't so much bureaucracy and so much fucking red tape, that we could be helping so many more people.
And it's cheaper.
And it's
way cheaper. And
you know,
it's 5 days.
We're not
5 days.
not,
Bring them home to mom.
And I'm not talking about brain injuries or medical right now. I can, for me, stem cell treatment.
Sure.
So my body was fucked up. I went down to Panama, paid out of pocket. I was there 4 days with my lovely wife. She was my chaperone. And literally 4 fucking days later, I have no pain. I can brush my teeth with not being pain in my shoulders. I can put dishes away without which I can go back to the gym. I can do squats. I can get up with my knees and not fucking feel the fucking pain.
Well, let me touch on a big one.
Right?
With ibogaine, and this is what Trevor Miller was doing at the beginning. He was treating addicts, and he ended up with a military guy in front of him.
Right.
And he treated him, and he said, "Look, I feel so much better, and the pain I was always having went away." And we were calling it ghost pain. I'm not sure if it's right, but I've talked to some people that medically it's just true.
Yeah, right.
That those painkillers will give you pain to make you take more painkillers.
Yeah, I believe that.
So you push those things away. You said, I'm not going to take them down. I'm in agony all the time. And once I took the ibogaine, all that stopped. Those oohies and owies all over. Everybody's covered them. You got broken whatever. It doesn't hurt anymore because it's once you've taken some of that poison they give you, your body's going to tell you want it again.
Yeah.
And it's screwed up your
addiction.
brain. Yeah. So not only, so it cuts that. That's the big one. So now it cuts the addiction. We've lost friends to this addiction. It's nuts. The guys went to heroin when they got cut off the painkillers.
Yeah.
So it cuts all that, and it just you're able to heal mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And now you're talking about guys that work out an hour and a half a day, go fighting, and then go train all day, and then go home, and then when they're stressed, they'll go for a long run. You can't do that anymore. Well, now you're just sitting there.
Yeah.
And you're miserable. Yeah. And it just beats the
downhill spiral.
Yep. And you go into free fall.
It
was just, there's no other way to say it. You go into free fall. You just don't care anymore. You just want it to be over.
Yeah.
And how the hell does that happen in America? Americans that fought for their country.
Yeah.
How the hell did they let us die in front of our families?
Yeah.
And
I want to throw this in there. Die while being alive.
Yeah. Yep.
That's the fucking scary part.
Yep.
Besides that, we've lost a lot of our brothers and sisters that have actually died.
Yep.
That are no longer here, either by the enemy or by the mental taking their own lives.
That your quality of life sucks so bad.
But when they die, when they're living and they're like, we said this, we use this as a broad statement. No, you're good. I can see it. You're good. But as you're dead in a live body.
Sure.
Yeah.
And,
and you can go down and within, and I'm not saying this is going to work for everyone. I don't know. It's the same thing when I said stem cell. I've got people that say, "Oh, I don't know if that'll work. Do you think it'll work for me?" I don't know. I can tell you it worked for me.
Yeah.
It works. And what worked for you worked for you. And so if people are affected by this should be an alternative that is open or an option for them and should be through the VA.
Yeah. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
A 30-day trip into the hospital is going to do nothing.
Yeah.
You're gonna sit in a group therapy and you're gonna talk to, well, I hate to say it, but there's gonna be half of them, maybe 3/4 will be fakers.
Yeah.
And they're just there to pad their freaking thing so they can get disability, and you need help, and you're not getting it.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I came home one time, my wife drove me to the VA and said he stopped talking. He's in shit shape. You gotta help him. And they were like, maybe we can give him a one counseling event like every 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, perfect.
You know,
That'll fix me.
Yeah, I was just really getting bad. So, and the funny thing about Trevor Miller said about me was, Pat came down here and he wasn't talking. He was, looking at his shoes and just hurting. I could feel it coming off him.
And then when you left, you wouldn't shut the fuck up.
Wouldn't shut the fuck up. And I haven't since, and I ain't gonna. I ain't gonna. I'm gonna bring them all home if I can.
I love it.
It's just because here's the other thing: is some psych doesn't have a chance of talking to these guys. I speak their language. I'm not trained in anything. I'm a freaking knuckle dragger.
Yeah.
But they're knuckle draggers too.
Yeah.
So they're only gonna listen to me.
Yeah.
And some other friends, they said, "You're the reason." Everybody thought, "Wow, Pat hit the ground. How?" And now I feel better that this guy, he's this tough guy, and he.
Well, they look at someone like you that they've known that went through all of these things, and now all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to say spokesman, but we'll call it that for lack of a better word.
Yep.
They know you, they trust and look up to you.
Yeah.
And they see that you did it and it worked for you. They're like, well, fuck, if he did it, I can sit there and cry too. I'll go try that.
Yep.
Like nothing else is fucking working.
And I think if you faked it and went down and did ibogaine, I think it would. You might get some. You might get to look inside yourself a little bit, but I'm not sure that God would be happy about you faking and using this drug. It's just, I don't.
But I also don't think
like
I don't think it's a drug that people are signing up for. Like, I just want to go down there and party for the night.
Yeah,
three-day evolution.
Yeah, and I'd have to laugh and be like, oh wow, you're gonna go through this for what? Yeah. And then, the whole program with them is counseling, and you do ibogaine, and then 2 days later you do 5-MeO DMT, which is the finisher. That's gonna finish it all up, and it's not fun.
Yeah,
it's not fun.
Yeah,
but I did feel great. I got back and someone would cut in front of me, and I'd go, what a jackass! What are you driving?
Fucking jackass! There must be in more of a hurry than me.
Yeah, and it was so much better that you're happy that you're not reacting to it, and you're not chasing them to another state, hanging out the window going, "I'm gonna fuck you up."
Yeah,
it was. There was incidents, and every guy will start laughing, and no, he's had incidents too, and some of it you go, "Holy moly!" But that's the truth, and the bottom line, one of the biggest things I'd like to say too is that these guys aren't suicidal, man. They're good men. They're fucking fought for their country, and they would fight for you, and they would die for you. They're homicidal. They're so angry. They're homicidal, and they don't want to hurt anybody. They don't want to hurt you. They want to hurt the enemy, and there's no enemy to hurt now, and they can't leave the house, and they can barely walk. And they realize that, man, it's taking over, and it's just I don't want to be that guy, so they take their lives. Yeah. And I talk to them all the time.
And part of your mission right now is to stop people from doing that.
Absolutely. And I see it. I can pick you out from across the room. I have walked up to people in the airport and said, "Hey, man, how you doing?"
Yeah.
Started talking to them. I could see them about to melt down.
Yeah.
I just walked them off to the side. You don't know me, man, but look, I was in the military too, and I see it. I see it in your face. I know you're hurting right now. You're gonna have to take a few breaths right now with me, and we're gonna take a few breaths. We're gonna talk a little bit, all right? And they just look at you like, "You psychotic bastard! Where the fuck did you come from?"
Yeah.
And I just come out and breathe with me. Yeah. Just breathe and just relax. I was you for years.
A wartime warrior for years, and now a peace warrior.
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
I love it.
It's the best feeling
I love it.
When you see a dude pictures on Facebook and he's back out with his kids at a park or something. Yeah. And he's not worried about driving there and driving back, and everything's going good, and smiles, and you can see in their eyes, and I've shown you pictures of my friends before and after, and when you see them come home, I mean it.
Yeah, you showed me that one with the before and after, which I'm gonna have to, if we can share that picture. If not, we'll go through that later. But some of these are fucking crazy, man.
Yeah, I'd have to call them.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think, honestly, though, with a lot of guys on Facebook, we're all kind of hiding it.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, you didn't do anything illegal. You didn't do anything bad. You went to Mexico.
Yeah.
And you did something.
Treatment that just isn't regulated here in the U.S.
Right. And it's not illegal there. So you didn't do anything illegal. And that's the important thing now. But I think now everything's being pushed towards the study and getting things right so we can start treating Americans. And I think the dream is that, years ago when my buddies on that team, one guy died, one guy got killed, and then they had 3 commit suicide right after. But if you'd seen those guys walking up to us and they were looking through us, it was like a movie, like the 1,000-yard stare.
Yeah.
These are guys we're friends with, and they're looking through you, man. And
Yeah.
you're like, look at those eyes, dude. What the hell did you see, bro?
Yeah.
And I just never want to see that again. And what the dream is that when we do get a team like that, before we let them go back into the world and start drinking and killing themselves, we can fly them to a center, we can tone them down, we can clean them out, get some good food in them.
Yeah.
We can treat them,
Reset
them, bring them home to mama on Saturday, and they're going to be good.
Yeah.
They're going to be good, and they're going to be good for a long time. And
Yeah.
man, I mean, they brought me through this, and I owe them.
Yeah.
I know this.
Well, listen, man, this podcast is going to touch a lot of people. I'm excited. You're truly a fucking warrior and a hero, and you don't want to hear that, but it's a fact. And it's not just me listening to you for the last hour and 30 minutes or so. I've talked to people on the boat. You're very well known here. And for you to be able to do this and come out and publicly talk about it and try to help other veterans is a fucking home run. I'll let you leave us with one statement. What in the everyday GSD mentality, what is your message to anyone listening to this right now?
Just hold on, brother. We'll get you there, man. We can bring you home now. I mean, I'm a goon, man. I'm a knuckle dragger, man, but I will do anything to get you home. And man, these people are good, and they brought me home, and I never thought I was coming home, and I came home.
Amen, brother. I have a little gift for you, a little everyday GSD T-shirt.
Thanks, buddy.
Yes, you're a true fucking everyday GSDer. You've been doing it since the early 80s, man, and you fought for our country, and you've done so much good, and I'm glad that you were able to find your path through some help, and I know that you'll continue to support and help other veterans just like us that need the help and maybe don't even understand they know they need the help yet, but you're going to help them.
Well, thanks, brother. You know what? I just want to say thanks for doing the work, man. We need this, and I mean, you saw how quick I was like, yeah, I'll go on it.
Yeah.
I just thanks for what you're doing, man.
Yeah.
You're going to bring a lot of guys home.
Thank you. I appreciate you.